lawyer guy. What's up?
What? Why am I?
I don't know. You always come here and start fights.
I didn't. Okay, I never started the fight. Other people jumped in, and I wasn't even a part of. Like that was like Rage Pope and Pisco going at each other.
Okay, you're still an asshole. That's all good. It's not a bad thing. Just own it. Okay. What do you want?
One thing, like, so when I was listening to you and XUC talk, there's one point where you guys were talking about like basically weight loss. In terms of like giving advice to people, like, so, like, do you have experience with that at all, or because it seems like you always had more trouble like putting on weight than you did losing?
Well, I think I figured out how to put on weight. What are you asking me?
It's more of I recently just started working. Like I put on weight during COVID and then lost it all in the past few months, and then so. But in terms of like the whole like just don't fucking eat, like it's a weird thing to hear people say like where it's like it doesn't help. It's the obvious answer. There's a lot of things where the answer is obvious, but it's hard to actually do.
Yeah,
And,
I used to say that. I think the most important thing is probably I think there's like two really basic things you follow and you'll probably be okay. One is intermittent fasting is nice because it keeps you from eating dog shit food. So like just say that you want to eat from like 10 to 10 even if you have a 12-hour window, or ideally like an 8-hour window, so you only eat from like noon to 8. Nothing that you eat past 10 p.m. is ever going to be good for you. Breakfast is usually dog shit. So like I would say that like intermittent fasting is a nice way to just kind of like restrict yourself from eating dog shit food. That's the first thing. And then second thing is probably like food choice is just important. Like just try to eat like relatively dense and lesser processed stuff, and it'll probably be harder for you to like be overweight. Like those are like the broad the two broad things. If you follow it, I think you're generally going to be okay.
Yeah, because the big reason for me, like I've lost 80 pounds in the past almost 4 months.
Oh, well, then why the fuck are you asking me questions?
Well, no, I'm curious more. Like I said, one is your experience with it. I wasn't asking because I needed advice.
Oh, I mean, I've gained and lost weight in the past on different things. So I mean, like different things work for different people. But when I lost weight in the past, I lost weight eating incredibly unhealthily. But if you have absolutely no physical activity whatsoever, losing weight can be pretty easy because you're just sitting at a computer all day, like rotting your mind on video games, and you just don't eat because you just like forget to, or you just don't feel the desire to. And then I guess nowadays everybody just abuses amphetamines, which also helps you lose weight too. But yeah,
it does.
Apparently, yeah.
It is. Yeah. But and then the other thing was when you were talking like not only with Sneeko and others, where they talk about like success, where the options they give are like you and Andrew Tate, or even things like Zerka, where all of you guys have basically made your success via like celebrity, and that like I said, the same thing kind of with the weight loss thing. So your advice is like kind of like go to college. As someone who like I mean I'm pretty happy where I am now, but I had no fucking clue how to get like I feel like that advice, like there's so much more advice you can give to someone about like, well, how do you get a job? What do I do to actually obtain a job? And what do I do to even find a job that I want to do? Because like a lot of the jobs that end up being valuable, it's not things you really thought of in the moment. They're kind of the pathway you walked along it. And same thing with even like with school, where it's like, oh, get a 4.0. It's like, but what if I got a 3.0 because I sat at home playing video games all day? How do I still succeed? And that like I've actually was able to luckily have a few students from my old schools like reach out to like give advice to. But in terms of like, so when you're giving advice, like for like, say you're giving advice to a college student, like when you just say go to college, like what exactly do you tell them to go to college for? Like how do you tell them to actually get to a successful point?
College is important because keeping your life on rails like minimizes your opportunity to fuck up. If you go to college, you get any degree, you're probably better off than just fucking up for 2 years and doing nothing. More often than not, I would say. Even if you get a bad degree, you're probably better off than just fucking around for 2 or 3 years. So I would say that like if you don't really know what you want to do, get a degree, keep your costs low. Go to a fucking state school. I don't know why the fuck retards are doing private college. I've never understood that. If you go to school and you accumulate $100,000 in debt for a random bachelor's degree, you probably deserve to be broke for the rest of your life just for being that fucking stupid. So go to a state school, get a degree in something that you enjoy or something you have some mild interest in, and then go to work from there, I guess. I mean, like that's like really broad. I guess my advice could be more specific depending on who I talk to. But if you're unsure, the thing is, this is just like the ultimate fear I have. And you know what? Maybe it's unfounded. If somebody can show me data on this, I would change my mind because I am relying heavily on anecdote here. I admit that like it is people that talk. I know so many people that took a break year and never went back to school. And that seems to be a common occurrence. But again, I'm basing that off of anecdote. Maybe somebody can link me a study that shows people that take 1 year off of school after high school, the majority of them go back and are really successful. That might be the case, in which case I changed my mind. But anecdotally, I know a lot of people who are like, I'm just going to take 1 year off between high school and college. And then you get out of the rhythm of like going to school and studying. Maybe you kind of get a job or whatever. And then that's like your path in life and you're just done. You're never going back to school at that point. And I know a lot of that personally. But like I said, I admit it could just be anecdotal. Yeah.
No, you're probably pretty right. I mean, at least from my experience from going to school, like a lot of the people, if you like took a year off from college, none of them ever came back.
Yeah.
That what happens is that you have, especially if you're young and if you're living at home, you have no obligation. School is your obligation. Nothing has to get in the way of school. But if you have a job, if you have bills, if you have a kid, you can't take class. You have to pay your bill. You can't lose your house. You have to do those things. And so suddenly those can't be your priority anymore. And so if you take that year off, the question is, what are you doing in that year that isn't suddenly creating obligations on you that you're suddenly going to make it more difficult?
That's the scary thing. Because if you get like a shitty job, but then you buy a car, or God forbid, you get somebody pregnant, or you get into a new relationship and you get like an apartment, if you start accruing financial obligations, are you going to want to quit your full-time kind of mediocre shitty job to go back to college now that you've got bills to pay? Like, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of potential pitfalls there. I agree.
Because suddenly also you have to go, okay, you were making money and suddenly you're going to be losing that, paying out more money for the potential of maybe in 4 years you might have something. And if you don't have if you had a direct thing, like an idea of what you want to do before, you wouldn't have taken that year off. The whole reason you took that year off possibly was because you didn't know.
Yeah.
For me, when I went to college, I was just I went to state school, like you said, didn't have any debt. And, was just the major my dad was, because I had no idea what the hell I was freaking doing. But while you're there, those general ed classes or even like other courses you have to take, you can use those as inspiration to figure out what you want to do. Because if you take a course, like I took business law, and suddenly you're like, oh, this is cool. How about law school? And your teachers will actually, like, you can go to like office hours. They'll talk to you about potential job opportunities, how you can do these things. There's a lot more than just like when you go there, if you don't know what you're doing, you can use college to figure out what you will do. So like, because you don't have to, like I said, you can change your major. You can get most of your shit done in 2 years and then focus on your other stuff the next 2 years.
Sure.
And then the other advice that like I've given to people is that a lot of times you go, like I said, both for weight loss and success in careers, is that it's a downhill battle. That like the first job you get in your career is the hardest one to get because you're completely selling yourself on nothing, on people taking a chance on you because you don't have any experience, and that you're also not going to do too well in your interview because you don't have the experiences to answer your questions. And so it's like, it's not worth getting disheartened, because I was fucking disheartened trying to find my first job because I was the person who stayed at home playing League of Legends rather than, like, I just got by on being clever. And but once you have that, like, even if your first job sucks and you're like, because my first job wasn't fun, but what it allows you to do is get experiences for the purposes of answering interview questions. Because if you can get like one good story of how you like did something that you can make them remember you from an interview, that's how you actually like end up. It's like what they say, like your resume is 10%, the actual interview is 90%. Like you can get jobs, even if something says you need a bachelor's degree. My father had a thing where they were looking for someone to like run a department, and they ended up hiring this girl who didn't have a degree, but she wowed them so well in the interview, they had to like they had to get everyone up the chain to approve her because she didn't have a degree.
While I understand what you're saying, the thing that this is something I have zero experience interviewing, so this is all intuitive. Okay, so I could be totally wrong. One of the things that I worry about interviewing is I worry that interviewing might be similar to like picking up girls, to where when you say like just kill the interview, I wonder sometimes, is that something that you can actually like prep for and like get good experience and like give a good interview? I'm sure that helps a little bit. Or is an interview like a really fluid interaction that's testing social skills and your ability to tell the person in front of you the things that they want to hear to demonstrate some sort of like advanced competency, like thinking ahead for the job that you're going to do? I really wonder that sometimes, because I feel like you could take two people with a similar set of experiences and another guy that's just a little bit more socially aware is a guy that could like kill an interview versus the other guy who's just like doesn't have the social skills, you know?
It can be that. So oftentimes what it comes down to, because from being in interviews, I've done interviews, and then obviously like, you know, when my dad was doing that, he used to come home and tell me about all the crazy people he'd interviewed. That you have, so oftentimes like you need almost just one good story, because what you need to be able to do is like, so if they ask you like, how do you deal with people? You might need, if you can give a story, go like, here's how I've dealt with hundreds, here's how I approach different situations, versus saying like, I don't know, I'm nice to them. So it has to do with like, can you use an experience to draw it out and suddenly do it? So for me, like, and it even, like for me, I switched from litigation to conflicts, very big jump there, but I was able to use the fact that to go like, when they said, well, what do you have experience with? And go, well, I've litigated conflicts, and that I've gotten people disqualified as attorneys, so you should hire me because I can be like, I'm the problem you face if you don't do conflicts right. So I know what I'm doing, even though I don't so they took me even though I didn't have conflicts experience because I was able to translate my experience. And the reality is a lot of what you do is far more translatable than you think. Your ability to, the biggest one I think I get asked in interviews across different things are your ability to get people to do things that they don't want to do.
Sure.
So like how can you, and if you can talk about how you interact with people, that'll help you a lot. But a lot of the times, like they're looking for something that basically can make you memorable, and to also not completely blow it, because there's the number of people who like even have good interviews and then just say something unbelievably stupid,
Fucking
and that's
stupid,
like the thing
yeah.
that like that.
I left the last place. I really didn't like them. You know, I even like stole some money on the way out, but like, yeah, they were horrible. But thanks to they were like, yeah. I've heard some stupid stories where people will just say like an unfathomably fucking retarded thing at the end of like an interview. Yeah, again, similar to flirting, where a guy will like fumble the bag on an otherwise like really good interaction, but say some really fucking stupid shit. It's like, why the fuck would you say that?
Never shit talk your previous employer, no matter how bad they are. You don't shit talk your previous employer, because no one wants to go like, so what does he do? Oh, he's a really big shit talker. Well, then he's hired, you know? And so that's why I also, like I said, where it's a kind of a downhill battle, because with each job, suddenly you have more and more things to draw from where you can wow them with one question. And that's oftentimes like, because the times like where I haven't gotten the job, it feels like that's like where I'm like, I didn't have an answer. Like they asked me a question, and I was really drawn on. I think it's
really important too, though, is that like, you have to answer the questions or put them in a way that it's like demonstrating some kind of like value or skill for your job. Like when people ask you, like somebody in chat just put in that meme question, like what's your biggest weakness, right? Like nobody's actually looking for you to say like, oh, well, I suck at time management, right? It's like an opportunity to demonstrate like what's a problem you have, what are the steps you've taken to rectify it, and like how successful have you been in like solving that problem, right? So saying that like my biggest weakness is that like I have a lot of issues with time management. That's why I'm like really anal about using my calendar on my phone, and I try to show up at every place 15 minutes early, so even if I'm a little late, I'm still early, right? So you've like demonstrated like problem, recognition of problem, steps you've taken to fix it, how you've implemented them. Like every answer that you give has to be an opportunity to demonstrate like a skill or value for ideally for the future job you're going to. It's not just you talking about random experience. That's why I say it's like a social skill thing, because people can be like really one-dimensional in their answer sometimes. And I do agree with you that people can, without even realizing it, pick up a lot of really good life skills that can make them really strong candidates, but they just don't know how to like answer it in a way that like demonstrates you've done really impressive stuff, like learn to talk about it, you know.
And the other big thing is, for me at least, what do you think of resume writing service? Like, do you think people should write their own resumes, or do you have any thoughts?
I don't know anywhere near about it to have a strong thought on that.
That was one, like, I mean, again, anecdotal, but twice I've had times like where I couldn't get any interviews, and I had like the same resume writing service use it, and within a week I had 2 interviews that both landed me jobs. And like the level of like what I learned was I'm not a professional resume writer, and also they're writing to not get you woofed by the automated thing where it's like you apply at 3 a.m. and you get a rejection at 3:30. You kind of know that no one looked at your thing.
Unfortunately, one of the things I'm really critical of when I hire people is I don't like people that use like buzz expressions. It makes me think they have no real experience. That's what I feel personally. Like, tell me about a channel you worked on, tell me a job you've done. Like, just give it to me straight. When you start saying things like, oh, like I was the multimedia management person, that was the mediator, it makes me feel like you actually did nothing. However, I gave that criticism, and I had a few people in chat, and then I had 2 people email me that said that like the reason why people have to fill out so many buzzwords is a lot of resume people these days, they kind of use, they'll use a program to just sift through resumes, and if you don't have certain keywords, they instantly just toss them in the trash. So you kind of have you have to hit a lot of those keywords just to get a human to read your resume.
Yeah, and you're just trying to get it. Your just resume needs to be good enough for them to actually bring you in, because they're usually interviewing a lot of people, and so like that's just a thing you have to deal with. Because that's also the unfortunate thing is when you don't get it, you kind of have to realize sometimes. Like one of them, I got interviewed for general counsel for a large dating site, and I got through like 6 interviews and a practical thing, and they went with it, and you're like, it feels like you wasted like so much of my time with all those interviews, but then you kind of think of it in terms of going, there's other people that if they'd given it to you, someone else is getting that call. And so that like you also can't take those rejections as like you suck. It's always, there could always be someone better. And when you do get the job, someone else got the no.
Sure. And
so like it's like I said, but a lot of it has to do with like kind of going through like there's unbelievably disheartening things. So I also like kind of related to the same thing like with weight losses. There's incredibly disheartening things in terms of like when you've just recently gained weight and you're trying to lose it. It doesn't feel like you're making any progress. It feels like you're just undoing damage. And so even like once you've lost 20 pounds and you're like, yeah, great, I've undone a little bit of it, and you have to be able to like power. Like that's like the biggest thing is just trying to power through sadness, basically. Just to continue to trudge through it until you succeed. And then once you do, though, you can leverage each one into the next one. Like the things spiral upwards and downwards. Another big thing that you had said that I think was like I really, really liked was someone had asked you about weight loss, where like that their family's all fat and eating things and would eat all their food, and your response was basically like, well, then fucking give up, because like if you're surrounded by just all these shitty things, and if you had the discipline, you would have already done it, and so you might as well just give up and just enjoy all the good food kind of thing.
One of the things that people don't recognize, this is true of like professional athletes, professional gamers, professional businessmen, blah 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 blah. Like people think that like the best man is the man that can overcome any circumstance and do anything regardless of what's going around them. That's not true. The best man is the guy that creates the best environment for themselves. Like when the time to act comes, everything should fall into place like very naturally. The idea that like the really successful man is a guy that like is fighting for his life every single day through every single adversity, that's bullshit. Nobody can do that. You're gonna burn out on a week doing that. Like the best thing is surround yourself with knowledgeable people, put yourself in an environment for success, make sure that your house like resembles like what you want it to be accomplished for life, you know, dress for the job you want, etc., etc. It's like it's just setting yourself up for success over and over again. Like
That's actually like the whole environment thing. That was actually a bigger thing that I realized, was that like I realized it's the whole Jordan Peterson clean your room kind of shit, but actually like existing in a clean environment versus existing in some place that was like disgusting, like that, like I said, when hit it, like suddenly I was working from home, wasn't walking to work, couldn't go to the gym, started door dashing way more, and like you're just like, geez, and it just suddenly things just start piling up, and once you get past a certain point, it almost becomes irrelevant. Like suddenly you stop caring, because what is one more? If your place is already a mess, and so like if you can fix that, and suddenly like it's an unbelievably good feeling when you're actually in a clean environment to try and help you to progress you towards better things. Because shit, man, it does put you in a negative thing.
Yeah.
And for the love of God, don't DoorDash. Like unbelievably expensive and unbelievably unhealthy. Man was not intended to have Taco Bell delivered to his door. He was meant to forage for it like our ancestors by going to the drive-thru at 10 a.m. Or 10 p.m.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Oh fuck! I just had a thing I was gonna say, but yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, and so it was just, but yeah, that was one of the reasons, because when I did it, I moved, so I went from living like, one thing is I moved to high altitude, which also helps with working out, and so suddenly going from like that environment to suddenly up here in the, like I'm surrounded by nature and shit like that, and so go out for walks, lifting weights and things like that, and it's amazing how quickly things, and also how much again it helps with your work, and so suddenly like everything just like I said feels better, because and having been, I wasn't obviously that fat for that long. Obviously, I didn't maintain. It was just like I kind of gained it over COVID and then way too much, but then lost it all. And then, holy shit, I hate anyone who says like healthy at any size. There is nothing but shit at the freaking end of being like overweight. There's nothing good about it. It's miserable. Everything sucks, and like even just health wise, it just destroys you. And it's frustrating to see people try and talk about like that when you're like, no, fucking work out. Stop eating out so much. Stop drinking soda.
Yeah.
And but yeah, yeah, I think it's about it.
All right, well,
always a pleasure.
Yeah, I love you. Be careful, buddy.
Have a good one.
God, that guy's such a better lawyer than Pisco. Every time he comes down, I just think of like, God, if I had a corporate litigator, I would always choose this guy every single time. Oh, hey, what's up?
Hey, dude. I was just seeing that Ben Shapiro commented on that debate you had with that pro-life guy.
Uh-huh.
Ben's a moron. I actually think that other guy is a bit of an idiot too.
Yeah? Have you reached out to that guy for you should reach out to him to debate him.
Well, I've tried to debate Ben on that topic. I've tried everything. I've tried tweeting at him. I got banned from Twitter eventually, but that was before I got banned. Tried emailing him. Tried emailing his company. Why did Ben like end up ever trying to reach out to you for a debate?
No, I think I probably would have jumped on that if he had.
Well, yeah. I think he's avoiding the debate because he knows that position where life begins at conception is a very difficult thing to actually defend, because it's really nonsense. There's nothing in particular that they actually value where they would want to protect like literally a cluster of cells at that point.
Yeah, I think that's the argument I tried to make against the Trent guy, yeah.
Yeah. It's just purely ideological. There's nothing in their value set where they'd actually have an interest in defending a clump of cells.
Well, to be
unless they
fair, I
have
think
some
the
sort
interest
of
comes from if they're religious, then there is a genuine interest there in defending human life created by God at the moment of conception, right?
I don't think so.
Why not?
You should check out my video where I debate Ben Shapiro.
I'm aware of him, yeah.
Yeah, you should check out that debate. That debate's also on the Crucible. If they're going to have this position where you have to protect life that's given by God, you can have things like molar pregnancies, where it's literally this like cancerous mass, but it is unique human DNA. It's just that it's basically like a cancerous mass that just keeps growing, but it's technically, a fetus. It's never going to become a human. So if they actually believed this, like, they would have to have the position where they're trying to protect this cancerous mass, and Zen actually bit the bullet. And he said, oh yeah, like, if somebody has a molar pregnancy and it's possible to just keep this cell line alive, then you should do that. So again, even if they're gonna like claim, oh well, it comes from God, I don't think they actually believe that. I just think they have this like weird position. I think what they actually value is this idea of just increasing the amount of human life, and obviously an abortion would prevent that human life from occurring. But like, if you have that position, you're also going to be against things like contraception, and a lot of these pro-lifers are against contraception.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but I would recommend on your spare time checking out Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, debate
my
of the
debate
guy.
with him.
Oh, you debate with him. Okay. Well, yeah.
Yeah, it might actually help your abortion debates quite a bit. What these people also don't understand is there's this thing called singamy. So they make this argument that at the moment of conception, there's like unique human DNA that's created where the two gametes combine.
Mm-hmm.
That's not actually true. What happens is there is this unique genetic material from the mother and the father that's in a single cell, but it actually takes about 24 to 48 hours for that genetic material to combine and create a new unique genetic code that's going to be, used to make a new human being. So it makes it that much harder to like argue that life begins at conception when you're talking about like a single cell that doesn't even have any unique genetic material. And again, Zen actually ended up having to agree with that life doesn't begin at the moment of conception. It begins 24 to 48 hours after conception.
Sure. I mean, you could, but I mean, meaningfully, I don't know if that would change their arguments much, right? Because it's not like we detect pregnancies that early, right? Although it might give you a slide on Plan B at least, or a pass for Plan A.
Like we've debated this before. Like, I think your position on abortion's inconsistent with some of your own values, but I'm not going to argue with that now. I think their position is actually much more inconsistent because they're claiming life begins at conception. Like, they're claiming that we need to protect non-sentient beings, and then Ben and this other guy, they eat meat. So I don't know how the hell they justify killing like these conscious creatures when they're valuing life that hasn't even obtained consciousness yet, and they're also putting a higher value on life that barely has any consciousness. And that's actually a big weak spot for Ben, because he's actually acknowledged that veganism is at least a morally superior position.
Ben Shapiro
he's talked about
interesting.
and he's actually talked about having interest in going vegan because he does see an ethical issue with killing and eating animals. So if you were to ever debate Ben Shapiro on abortion, that would be a huge weak spot for him.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah. That would also be a weak spot for that other guy. I don't think he's vegan either. I don't even know if he has like any kind of pro-vegan position where he thinks it's morally superior and he just can't do it or something like that. Um, if you could give me that guy's contact details, I'd be willing to debate that dude you debated.
The Trent guy?
Yeah, yeah. Is he like a doctor or something?
No, I don't think so.
No? Okay. Yeah, if you give me his contact details or if you just I don't know, tell him I'm interested in debating him,
Okay.
I'd be down.
All right. I'll keep that in mind.
All right, thanks, dude.
Yep. See you later.
Take care.
Bye. I love how like vicious our fights are when he comes in here, but then he always comes in. It always feels like I'm like, is it 51st dates or like I feel like I'm like resetting the day, and he's just like,
Steven.
"Hi, what's up?
Hi. Do you prefer the drop-ins or do you prefer the messages? What's easier for you?
Whatever you want, dude. What's up?"
All right. So can I talk about that system real quick?
I don't know what we're talking about. The system?
Your payroll.
Oh, okay. Yeah. What up?
Okay. So when you do you do your payroll, or does that person listed as the manager do the payroll?
I mean, what are you asking? Who's listed as a manager? Is it not me?
Oh, well, there's another person in there.
Wait, who? Post a name. What?
Give me a second. Hold on. Chill. Da-da-da-da-da. This name.
Oh, that's that person.
Okay, that's what I thought. Do they take care of payroll?
No, the company that
Okay.
I use does. Why? What's up?
Okay, cool. So when you go in and you when I submit you an invoice, so like there's the difference between my 1099 invoice and then any kind of reimbursement, right? And they can't be combined because like I don't need to get taxed on shit that I'm just being reimbursed for. So
Well, can't
when
you
go in?
hold on? Can't you just invoice me for everything, and then when you do your taxes, just write those up as business expenses? Isn't that how that would work?
No, because you only get to write off a certain percentage, so I'd still be getting taxed. So like if I bought, let's say I bought you, I don't know.
Wait, no shot. You can only write off a percentage. It should be 100%.
I don't think on everything. No, I don't think anything. I think most things it's like you get to write it off, sure, but you don't get like a 1-to-1 write off.
I would be really curious on what that, because if I can get a write off for it, you should be able to get a write off for it. I'm almost positive that if you buy things in service of performing this job, that should be 100% write offable.
Hold on. Business meals with clients are 50% deductible. Office snacks and meals are 50% deductible. Company-wide party is 100% deductible. Meals and entertainment.
Well, hold on. Be careful. I'm not. That's different. That's
No, I'm
talking
not
about.
talking about. Yeah.
Because when you're talking about those things, that would be like, let's say that I take, let's say that I want to go have dinner with a lawyer and I want to talk about, or I want to impress like some clients. So I take them out to like a company dinner. For that dinner that I take them out to, I can write that off. I think up to 50%. I thought it was 0, but it might be up to 50%. I could write off that meal. That's what that's talking about. That's not. I don't think that's buying catering services. You're not like a client. When that says client, it doesn't mean like a like somebody that works for you or like a contractor. That means like business partners that you're going out with. There, client is maybe a little bit ambiguous, but yeah.
If that's fine, that's cool. The system doesn't have an invoice function, so I still have to send you a paper invoice via email for other stuff, but that's fine. So let me ask this dude in chat. Reindeer Flotilla. He's saying he's a tax dude. So I'm not incorporating for this. I'm just doing cell phone business. So for the 1099, so let's say I have to buy Steven, I have to buy, let's say, like he's going to reimburse for the food, right? That I buy. Like, is that 1-to-1 write off? All right. Well, either way, so I'll have to submit you invoices through chat or through email. So I'll do that, and then I'll figure out the accounting thing. If that's fine, I don't give a shit as long as it doesn't muddy the 1099.
My guesstimation, and you can reach out to a tax professional for how this would work. My guesstimation would be that if you cook for me, especially if you buy the groceries, I can also give you just like a business card to charge those too. If you want to do it directly, that might be weirder on a taxes. My guess is that if you work for me in that way, you send me an invoice for your services. Let's say that you invoice me $3,000 or $4,000 for the month. Okay, when I pay you that money, you're going to have $4,000 that you're showing in income. Now, let's say you spend $400 on groceries that month for me, right? You would write off $400 as a business expense. That would almost positive that would be how that would work.
Yeah, if that works that way, like, well, we talk more details about that, but yeah, if it works that way, I'm just thinking about like the trial and the Airbnb and stuff, and if it just ends up counting as like a 1-to-1, you know, business trip gets 100%, then
it would I would
good.
be shocked if that wasn't the case. If you have to buy an Airbnb, because you could write off a hotel, I'm almost positive. If you need to get a hotel for 4 days in an area because you're going on a business trip and you've got to pay out of pocket for that, but you're self-employed, that must be a business deduction. You can write off. Yeah,
it looks that's correct.
That'd be my what?
I googled it. Business trip, 100% deductible. So
Yeah, that'd be my guess.
It's
yeah.
just
Now,
if it
ordinary
just cancels
mileage on
out, then-
cars and stuff gets more complicated, but like this, yeah, it should be fine.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Okay, cool beans. Thanks, buddy.
Okay, be careful.
Bye.